welcome to a demonstration from Hawk. We're going to walk you through some basic functionality to start up your SC4500 controller. So off screen here, I'm going to plug the controller in, and you'll see what happens when it starts up. We see some introductory screens. The controller will power cycle. And then you'll arrive here at the main menu. You can see in the text here, you're asked to connect a device. What we're going to do, since it's our first time starting this instrument up, is we're going to update the firmware. So you do that by going out to hawk.com and obtaining the latest firmware from the website. You load it onto a USB stick, and you go to this portion of the controller here, loosen these screws, open it up, and you have a USB port here. You connect your USB key, go up to the menu, the controller, scroll down here to USB transfer, controller update. It asks you to do what I just walked you through, download the latest firmware, you hit continue. Now the update is in process. It found the new update on the USB key. I hit OK, update, and you see progress as the controller firmware is updated to the latest version. Let's take a look at some of the general menus on the SC4500 controller. You can see here, we're at the home screen. We do not have any sensors or analyzers connected, and we're being instructed to touch the 3 bars up at the top to go in and configure any settings. So we go into the main menu here. Under controller, we can go into general, and this is where we can set things like language. This one defaults to English, but if I prefer another language, I simply select that and hit OK. Below that, I can change my time format. If I prefer a 12-hour time format, I can click on that, hit OK, and that will update. You can see my time is updated accordingly. If the date needs to be changed when you're first configuring the device, you can do that. If I want to keep track of the facility and location, I can simply punch that in here. So I'm recording this at Hawk. So let's type in Hawk and hit OK. And that's saved. Where am I? I'm in the lab. So let's type in lab here and hit OK. Now we do have a feature for a screen lock. I can go into this display settings here and turn this on. I'm going to leave it off for now, but if I did turn this on, it would lock the screen after the waiting period that you select, currently defaulted to 3 minutes, so that no erroneous touches of the screen do anything on the display. Not very necessary, but in some instances, customers want to feel more comfortable that raindrops or whatever aren't going to mess with the screen, and so you can turn the screen lock on. I'm going to hit the top right corner, that home button, and it brings me back to this. Let's walk through connecting a sensor to the SC4500. You can see down below, I have multiple ports. These 2 on the right are where I can connect sensors. So you'll need to loosen this with a screwdriver, which I've already done. Now it's just hand tight. You take your 5-pin sensor connector, you can plug that in, make sure it tightens down. Now because the Hawk sensors are on the SC protocol, this SC controller will automatically detect the type of sensor that it is. It'll take a few minutes depending on the type of sensor or analyzer that you connect. But you can see here, I've connected a Nitrotax Plus, and because I just have it sitting here on the floor in the lab, we're not getting a reading, so it's showing as 0. But you can see that that was a fairly quick and automatic detection. Now this will become my default screen. If I connect another sensor to this additional port, the screen will split and I'll see measurements on both the top and bottom, as well as the option to swipe between different options for display. So even if I have 2 sensors connected, if I only want to see one reading on the readout screen, I can swipe for that option. Now that I have the Nitrotax connected, I can go up here to my main menu again, go into devices, and you can see here my Nitrotax with some information. Now I can click into this, go into my device menu, and now I'm in the sensor menu itself. So I can start a calibration from here, do my factors, do my offsets, reset my calibration settings, all the standard menu options that you would expect from a NitroTax Plus. And that's how easy it is to connect a sensor on the SC4500. Let's talk through some of the features on the errors and warnings and prognosis alerts that you get with the SC4500. As you can see on the screen here, we have the red background, which is indicating there's an error or a notification that's important that I need to look into. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to click on this exclamation point, and that's going to show me I have 4 different notifications, 3 errors and 1 warning. I can click in and I can see listed here, my wiper is blocked, my calibration data has failed. So these are issues that I would need to go resolve. If I have mobile sensor management, there might be a maintenance workflow that I could use to help me get that resolved. Otherwise, I need to go check the manual for the sensor itself and perform the maintenance necessary to remove these alerts. The other thing here, if I click in again, I can go down here and see my prognosis alerts. So these give me measurement quality indicators and a next service or maintenance due in a certain amount of time indicator. So these 2 prognosis features come standard on the SC4500. These were not available on the SC200 controller, and for the SC1000 you needed to purchase a separate prognosis card. The beauty of the SC4500 is that you get these not only in mobile sensor management if you have a subscription, but also on the local display even if you don't have a subscription. That's a great feature that we're excited about and that we know customers will enjoy. Now that I've learned more about my NitroTax and the errors and warnings that I need to go and resolve, I'm going to go ahead and plug in a second sensor so you can see what happens to the screen when I do that. So just like before, I plug the sensor in at the bottom, I screw it in to tighten it down. You can see what happened on the screen. As soon as it recognized my LDO probe that I plugged in addition to my NitroTax, I went into a split screen, and I now have the option to swipe and see different ways of reading my measurements. That LDO measurement is still coming through. Again, I don't have it installed on anything, so even if it does come through, I'm going to get zeros. But you can see here I'm now seeing my reading from my NitroTax as well as a reading from my LDO. If I prefer just to see my LDO readings, I can do that. And now I've got a number coming through. If I just want my NitroTax reading, that's an option. Very easy to swipe between the different ways of seeing your data. And if you leave that on the screen like that, that will be the default. It won't go away unless you swipe to another option. So very great visibility there. I can easily see my NitroTax has an issue because I see the red up top. My LDO reading the 91.61 seems to be functioning just fine. Again, if I need to go into the menus, looks like I have a firmware update I can go and do on my LDO. Don't need to right now. It's only a yellow notification, but I can enter my device menu, do my calibration, do my sensor settings, just like you would on a normal Hawk controller. So I'm done with that. I'm back at the home screen. I can swipe through to the view that I prefer. Lots of great functionality on the sensor menus, sensor notifications, prognosis errors, and warnings with the SC4500. There are multiple options for outputs from the SC4500. You can do 4 to 20, your milliamp outputs, Modbus, Ethernet IP, Profinet, Profibus. These are all managed in my outputs menu. So you can see this version of the controller that I have Modbus TCP, and I have voltage relays. Let's go into the Modbus menu, turn this on. Then I can go in and configure my telegram. It's fairly standard. I'm going to add my device. I'm going to pick my NitroTax. That then pulls in the tags. I want my classified status 1. And I'm also going to pick my device warning condition and my heartbeat. Now that I have these, I can drag and drop so that they agree with the order on my PLC. Fairly intuitive, easy to use. They adjust based on how you move them. Once that's done, hit OK, save my configuration, and I'm off to the races. Obviously, you'll need to connect this to your PLC using the Ethernet ports. Go back to my main menu. Good to go. The SC4500 controller functions in a local environment with the local user interface on the screen, as demonstrated in the previous videos, but it also has the option of connecting to Claros, which is the water intelligence system from Hach. Mobile sensor management is the part of Claros that functions with the SC4500 and the sensors connected to it. Now, to connect to Claros MSM, you can do that using a Ethernet port, LAN cable, to connect to your local router or modem. You can also use a Wi-Fi dongle or an external cellular modem. And for those options, you need one of these external USB boxes. Now, what I have here is a cellular modem. You can see we have a SIM card already installed. When you purchase this accessory, you receive the modem with the SIM pre-installed. You need to install this antenna yourself by plugging it in through this cable gland here. Now, to install the USB box to the controller, first I power the controller off. I loosen the screws here and here, here and here. I open up the door, and then I take the cable from my USB box. I'm going to remove the plug, one of the plugs, from the bottom of the controller, plastic plug like this. I'll feed this up through that hole. You can see this will connect to this slot here in the door. Now the modem will pull power and also send data over this single cable. I tighten up this gland at the bottom, close this, retighten all of my screws, and then prepare to power on the controller again. My controller is now powered back on. It will take a minute or so for the sensors I have connected to once again be recognized, and then another minute or so after that for any errors or warnings or alerts to pull through. But I can go ahead now and go into my menus and get my connectivity going. So I go into my controller menu, connectivity. I've plugged in the cellular modem, so I'm going to go into the cellular menu. I'm going to turn my cellular connectivity on. The SIM card provided by Hach comes from the provider Telenor, so that's already pre-selected. I hit apply, hit yes, and the cellular functionality is now being activated from that external modem. Once the cellular modem is configured, I'm returned here to the connectivity menu. And there's one additional step you need to take, which is to activate Claros. So you can see here, there's an option to turn Claros off or on. You need to make sure this is on, otherwise data will not push to the Claros cloud. And return to my main menu. You can see now my cellular signal is measured there, not too strong here in the lab, but strong enough to push data to Claros cloud. You can see the cloud icon indicating that I am successfully connected to mobile sensor management on the Claros platform. Typically, when you first install your cellular LAN or Wi-Fi connection, you'll see that cloud there with a line through it, indicating that the device is ready to connect to the Claros cloud, but that the configuration on the Claros web app has not yet been completed. You can see a separate video on how to add your device ID to your Claros tenant, and then this cloud will appear once that's done. Your sensors will also appear in the Claros MSM user interface, and you'll be able to interact remotely with these devices. And that's how you connect to Claros. Okay, everyone, just want to walk you through really quickly what your customer will see when they first get their MSM account activated. So this is the email that the customer will receive after the order goes in. That subscription is ordered by the customer. You can see they have 24 hours to follow this link to activate their account. They're going to click on the link. It'll take them to a page like this on Hach. I've already created mine, so I'm getting an error message. But here's a screenshot of what they would see. They're going to create a username, hit continue. They'll see the same box to create a password. They'll create their password, and then they'll log in. Now, after they've logged in, if they want to go back and log in later after logging out, all you do is go to hawk.com, up here at the top, Claros. You can click on that. It'll bring you to the login page. My login got saved, so I'm logged in automatically, but you would put in that same username, that same password. You did OK. The first time you log in, you'll have to hit the submit button to agree to the terms of use. So I do that, and then I'm brought to the home page. You can see different options here. Some of these are for collect. For MSM, the one we want to focus on is this device management. So I'm going to click into that. And my first time logging in, I won't see any devices here because there aren't any added yet. Now you can see that this tenant that I'm on does have some instruments, controllers, sensors ready to go because those are already plugged in. So you can see I have one controller, 2 devices. If it's the customer's first time logging in, they won't see any devices. Even if they have that subscription for a specific device that's already up and running, already activated into Claros, they still need to go and add the device. So they're going to click Add Device here. They're going to punch in the serial number, and then that device should be already connected to the internet, pushing data ready to go to Claros. So I'm going to punch in my serial number. I'll hit Continue. As an example, this won't work, but just so you can see, okay, no device found because that device number that I put in, that serial number, is not connected right now. But once that is connected, there's a slight delay, but you'll see that instrument appear here, and then you can dive into specific instruments, relays, data, etc. Lock the device. I'm not going to do that, and that's how it works. So that's what the customer will see the first time you log in, and that's how you add a device in Claros MSM. Great.